Well, let me say a special good morning to those who are listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. It's Monday, the 25th of November. I was saying to someone the other day, it's one of the busiest month I've seen in a long time. It's just moving. Yeah. It's just moving. Let me say good morning to Mr. Brian Graham with us this morning. But let me say good morning also to those of you via social media platforms, those of you via of course, our Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning. Those of you listening and viewing via GBN's webpage, gbn.gd. Good morning and welcome to The Point for today, Monday, the 25th. I'm your host, GT. As mentioned before, I have Mr. Brian Graham with us this morning. He's the president of the Grenada Public Workers Union. And we're going to chit-chat as usual this morning. Of course, there's a week of activities coming up. It actually started off already with that church service. Yes. And there's, of course, a list of other events that are coming up. Of course, you're going to share that with us this morning. And we get into the conversation. There's always something to talk about in relation to the Public Workers Union, Grenada Public Workers Union. Let me get that right. Mr. Grahams, once again, good morning, sir. And how you doing?
Morning, GT. To your listening and viewing public across the nation and across the diaspora. I'm very happy to be here with you this morning, and I must concur and agree with you about how the month is moving. Yeah. It's moving really, really fast. I thought it was me alone. No, it's just like the days, I don't know, as you get older, I guess the days move faster.
I was saying, are we getting 24 hours or 12 hours?
I don't know, but everything is just moving pretty fast.
So true, man.
Yeah, so today my purpose, we'll discuss general trade union issues, of course, but my primary purpose here is to just speak about the week of activities that we have. This is GPWU week, and this is an annual event. We have different activities when that time arrives in November of each year. We are celebrating 93 years.
93 as a union.
Yeah, as a union, which is an incredible achievement, and I'm privileged and proud to be the current president of the union of such a great organization. We are celebrating under the theme GPWU. Celebrates 93 years of preserving workers' rights through advocacy, education, and engagement. GPWU celebrates 93 years of preserving workers' rights through advocacy, education, and engagement. And every year we start off the week in a house of worship. This year we did the St. John Anglican Church. Obviously, it's in St. John. And it was a beautiful session. The church, the congregation was very welcoming to us. As per usual, I did a short address and then we had a brunch just adjacent to the church in the center there, the pastoral center, I believe it is called. Okay. Yeah, and we invited some of the members of the congregation, and it was a wonderful time. We had great weather, great camaraderie, great fellowship, and the food tasted decently also. So in terms
of food, so tell me, in terms of the week of activity, there's something that will be standing out significant about this particular anniversary for 2024.
Right.
Tell me what will be standing out significant. What is significant?
So if you go back to the theme I just spoke about in terms of preserving workers' rights through advocacy, education, and engagement, we try to live up to that. The advocacy, obviously, we do media advocacy, we do advocacy in other means in terms of interaction. In terms of engagement, one of the things that we really have to improve on as a union is really that physical interaction with workers going to the workplaces. There is some constraints there, because one must understand that the people who serve at the helm of the union, they are basically doing it practically voluntary. It's really a service. It's not full-time. As opposed to another union like TAU, which is a professional organization in regards to the players there, the executive members, they are full-time. With us, we are public officers and we are elected, and we do our very best to represent the interests. So in terms of that engagement with workers, we can improve on that, I think. Going forward, maybe possibly there can be an arrangement where the president is full-time there, whoever is the president at the time, or something like that. So one of the things we're doing this week, we have already written for engagement with the General Hospital staff.
Okay.
Right? Sometime this week. Hopefully we get a positive response because there's a lot going on there. And then on Friday we have a grand social. We're going to have bingo, dominoes, waters, food and drink, happy hour 3 for 12. It's going to be a fantastic time. Music, obviously, and we inviting not just our members but the whole of Grenada to come and participate in our car park. It's going to be our last social for the year. We did a few for the year so far, but this one is going to be the biggest in our view because of the bingo aspect. Everybody wants to get a chance to in colloquial terms, win our money. You could win cases of drinks, you could win ham, and the bingo ticket is only $10 GT. All so based on that GT, I know you're going to be there. $10. So I'm inviting you right here.
It's an opportunity to win money, and when I get ham and all of that involved, why wouldn't I want to be there?
Yes.
All right. So tell me, the health aspect of it. I know usually every year there's always that health fair. I'm not hearing you mentioning that.
Yes. That's a very, very good question. You follow it.
I pay attention. I mean, I have the last 2 years I actually came.
Yes.
Get that little opportunity to be part of the health fair and stuff. I didn't hear you mention that this year.
Wow, you're totally on the ball. So that health fair did not happen as is in the usual way. The person who normally spearheads, they have gotten a portfolio. I just spoke to the fact that our executive members, they basically practically do this on a voluntary basis, and that person who normally spearheads the health fair, they have a very, very serious portfolio at this point in time. They have taken up, and that has cause them to get some hurdles regards time and time to really make that health fair come off as per normal. However, we had a fantastic opportunity in the month of October to really partner with the Ministry of Health. Okay. Right? So that one door closes and next one opens. So an official from the Ministry of Health reached out to me, or should I say the union, and we had a men's health fair at the complex. Normally with us, we do it at the PW headquarters, and we get a lot of people from the general public coming and so forth. But we partnered, and this is something we're going to look into going forward, where we can actually partner with the Ministry of Health, with the union and health, and different ministries can partner to say, yeah, we're working together, because sometimes it seems as though there is a more adversarial approach. Yes, but this time we partnered, and I went, did a couple tests, got the results and so forth. But the strange thing is, I saw like 90% women at the men's health fair.
90% of women at the men's health fair.
Yeah. So
that's a little troubling.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the location. I'm hoping it's just the location, because the public service is predominantly female. I mean, there are males, obviously, but in the complex you have more females than males, and so maybe it's that, maybe it's the location. Or maybe women check on their health more. I don't know.
Well, it's always been said that, something when it comes to health and men, we always take that backward feeling towards.
So we have to,
except when things get really bad, then we take up the mantle for it.
So we have to change that. So going forward, men should come and get the test free. PSA test. That's a blood test to check for your prostate. There no digital exam. PSA, so that's a blood test, and it just takes about a week to get back the results. Cholesterol test, you test for your pressure, all different sorts of things, and there are sometimes health officials there, like doctors, to give you a little pep talk, to give you some information and so forth. So the union really, really and truly looks forward in the coming years to partner with the Ministry of Health, and I think that's a beautiful opportunity. Things happen, and I think we should make it a staple.
Well, I wish you all the best for the GWPU in terms of the week of activity. You mentioned a whole lot of activities coming up, so we get the support, especially with the social.
Yes, the social. We're looking forward to that. Everybody's invited.
There's great opportunities there. You said, once you say bingo and stuff like that, folks want to be part of it. I gotta be part of that also.
Yeah, all right.
And so let's get into a little bit of the conversation. How is things with the GPWU as it stands as a union right now?
Yeah, I would say things are good. As current president, I am getting tremendous support from the executive of the union. Some might say, well, that's not a big deal. I view it as a big deal when you have a lot of collaboration, when you have a lot of cooperation, and people can exchange ideas and disagree respectfully. My executive has been doing a tremendous job in allowing me to be the president and to lead, and I'm very appreciative of that. That can only make the organization stronger. The secretariat also is operating very, very efficiently, and there's a lot going on. People are productive and so forth. So I would say the union is is a great position at this point in time. As far as 2024, we have seen a few achievements as an organization. One of the achievements, we partnered with the Global Environment Facility. Not partnered. It's really an organization that gives grants. So a few members of my executive got together. That's the executive secretary, the treasurer, and the second vice president, and they did a grant proposal for a small grant, and we were able to secure as a union a grant for solar panels. I know you're a technical guy, so I know you have interest in that. So we have solar panels on our roof right now at the headquarters, and the whole intention of that grant really, and that whole project, is for us, once we save enough over a period of time, our members now will be able to, we'll use those savings to go to our members, get our members having solar panels on their roof. Right? So that's what it is. Currently, we have to get a little bit more outside of the grant funds, because the grant funds did not give us all the money. So what it has done thus far is half our electricity bill. But once we get some more solar panels, it will ensure that we get full coverage for the upper part of the building. Basically zero electricity bill, have more savings, and once you accumulate that, you will see public officers across the country who apply being able to get that sort of renewable energy instead of Glen. So it's something we're very happy about. In addition to that, we have signed at least one CBA. That's with the Grenada Bureau of Standards. We signed that recently, and I was happy to do that because the lead negotiator for the Grenada Bureau of Standards is my old principal from GBSS, Mr. Victor Ashby. It was a pleasure to sit across and walk along with him. It was a great pleasure. And then we have one coming up with Housing Authority. Not to go on and on, because we did achieve a few things, but we moved from, in terms of our medical insurance plan, from Sagicor to CG United. Right, Sagicor is really, they were a long-term partner. Sister Lorette Clarkson created that health plan, and that was the service provider at first. But sometimes people move on. And we were appreciative for the 3 decades of service and partnership. But CG came along with what we viewed as better benefits for our members, and we are improving and ironing all the kinks as we speak. But that was very, very pivotal for us. It was not an easy decision, but now we have a medical health insurance plan, and I must commend the government of Grenada in that state. In that, while we were negotiating last year, they said, look, we're going to improve the 50-50 and make it a 55-45 in terms of paying premiums, where the workers can pay less. And this is what sort of drove us in that particular direction. And we are here, and I am on the health insurance plan, first one I've been on, and I'm very happy about that based on my...
You've seen the benefits that...
based on my age and so forth. Fellas getting older, you always need a little protection.
So true. Let's talk a wee bit about the challenges of the union thus far. There's always challenges in terms of looking out for workers and so forth. What are some of these challenges you say that the GWPU is of course...
GPWU, Grenada Public Workers Union.
What are some of those major challenges that thus far?
We have, we are not short of challenges, and as the old adage goes, GT, not a day without the struggle, and that is the reality for the union. The struggle is always there. We have 3 major challenges, I would say, and that's statutorization, that's pension reform, and that's regularization, right? So I guess we'll get into the conversation about each one of those. But a point I want to make here, because I think it is vitally important. While we believe that the government of the day has good intentions and some positive things have happened, that's without a doubt.
Yes.
In regards to labor, some of these big ticket items, in our view as a union, they are being done too aggressively without proper consultation. This is not the first time I'm saying this.
So
I've said that on a number of other platforms before, and it is a bit worrisome, simply because there is, to me, there is a sort of disdain for processes and bureaucracy. I don't know if that is as a result of most members of the government administration, or respectfully, being from a private sector background. But the private sector is the private sector, and the public sector is the public sector. So here you have regulations, you have the Constitution of Grenada to look at, and you must engage with constitutional creatures such as the Grenada Public Workers Union to get things done. And sometimes we get the feeling here at the Public Workers Union that we are just viewed by those in authority as a sort of hindrance, as a sort of hurdle, rather than a stakeholder and a key partner in getting things done. So this is what we face right now. Hopefully that can change, and I'm not just speaking just for speaking's sake. If you listen to the utterances of many government ministers, they would say, well, they bemoan the bureaucracy in the public service, but you have to engage with us. What we're seeing a lot of times, for example, with the same statutorization, they speak directly to our members. We had the Minister of Health on a program, right? Was it in October? Probably in October, on the Bob report, making a public declaration that this hospital will be statutorized on the 1st of January. GT, 1st of January 2025. To this day, we have not had an official sit-down with the Ministry of Health or with the government of Grenada or members of cabinet.
And with your union being the main back in the
Yes, we haven't had that. And then you have a declaration, well, the 1st of January 2025, it will be statutorized. It's just shocking, So I must bemoan, as the current president of the Grenada Public Workers Union, the lack of respect being shown to our organization and the lack of willingness to sit down across the table with the other side, the lack of willingness from their end. It's as though there is a fundamental disdain for engaging with unions, even though they claim to love workers. You can't claim to love workers and not want to interact or engage with a main bargaining agent. It is an impossibility.
How critical is your union engagement in a process of statutorization, especially from a governmental point of view and a public workers union especially? How critical is your involvement?
We're talking about a scale of 1 to 10?
Yes.
I would say 11.
Yeah.
That's
very, very, very critical.
Yeah, it's very, very critical. It's not a 1, 2, 3, because we have constitutional requirements here. So, for example, in 848 of the Grenada Constitution Order, if you're going to reorganize the General Hospital or any other agency for purposes of communication, the General Hospital we're speaking of, and the other hospitals, PSC workers will have to be paid off as though they're pensionable. Yeah? So, when we're talking statutorization, you have to talk, okay, what's the situation here? What are the benefits? What are they going to get? With the General Hospital, there are a lot of people on contract. How does this affect them in terms of parting benefits, right? We haven't spoken to all of these things. So in terms of engagement, we need to speak about all these things. So I hear on the wayside, because this is where we're getting information, there's talk about secondment and so forth. But secondment is only for permanent workers, as far as my understanding is of the matter is. Just for permanent workers, right? And with secondment, it also only speaks to a specific period in time. So you cannot be on secondment in perpetuity. So there's a lot of moving parts here, And this is why social dialogue is so imperative to making the process a good process.
Coach Grams, we do for a break. Let's take we come back and we certainly will continue with the discussion here on the To The Point. Stay with us, folks. We will be right back. Don't touch it dial.
Tourism is me, tourism is you, tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
And the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Coming up, Friendship 7K excitement, local business support in St. Martin, greater air travel to destinations like Barbuda, accommodated in style, the contributions of Raymond Lawrence. It's all next on this station.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV. I have, of course, the president of the Grenada, Grenada Public Workers Union. I always seem to get it. PW, yeah. Grenada Public Workers Union with us this morning, Mr. Brian Grams. Yeah. And let's continue on our conversation in terms of statutorization. There's constitution that governs statutorization. From your perspective, that the union knows how that the unions, of course, will follow through and expects the authorities to follow through on in terms of making decisions of that nature. Tell us a wee bit that what is still of a concern to you in terms of how the Constitution is followed in that particular.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of concerns. Section 106 of the Constitution speaks of it being really the supreme law. And things of that nature. And I did speak earlier to the fact that there seems to be a subtle or even overt at times disdain for bureaucracy in this country based on wanting to meet certain agendas, which can be dangerous to our democracy, in my humble view. But just apart from those things, I look at statutorization, and the union is not saying no. We are not saying that. I may have my personal opinion, but our focus is really on making the process right if it has to happen, so that our workers will not be disadvantaged in any way, shape or form. But the man on the street might ask a couple questions, because I was going through the old act from 1998. And basically, in Section 52 of that, it says now, for somebody to be admitted, whoever is in charge of the hospital or whoever is running there, they have to get a treasury receipt to say, okay, well, you pay, and you pay based on the amount of time you stay. And I think the shorter the period you stay, you have to pay 100% of the fee, and if it goes along, you pay a percentage, but they want money up front. How does the regular man deal with that? That's part of the act. This is not Brian Grimes saying it.
I'm trying to get a total view of what you just said.
That's from 1998, by the way. Right. So because you would have heard them say, well, look, this act has been around long. It just has not been put into place or implemented. 1998, Section 52. If somebody wants to come in there, you need to show that you pay. You have to come with your treasury receipt for them to say, okay, well, you could rest your head easy. Okay. That's a part of it. I don't know what the fees will be exactly, but that is a part of it. And for the regular man, that may be a concern. Yeah. Listen, well, I brokes. I out here, I don't have that money at that particular time. So imagine it's a serious situation. You have to come up with receipts and things if you get in a rush. It's in the act. It's something that is a bit of a concern. I have heard educated men and women in this country speak, and regarding statutorization. And one of the concerns is, hey, why are you rushing to this? And we have spoken about the national health insurance for donkey years. Why is that not being implemented first? And hey, if you implement NHI first, which you have been speaking about, that probably will help finance that statutorized hospital. So is it a case of the cart before the horse? Right? So, it's just a lot of rush. There's a lot of conversation to be had. And the best place to iron out these things is at the table to have really, really good social dialogue on these matters.
There's a lot of public, of course, groupings that show the concern that you are showing as a union this morning. There's a lot of course, public grouping that's saying about the lack of consultation that moving forward. I understand government wants to do in terms of better healthcare, and I think everybody will be happy for better healthcare in Grenada under any circumstances. Once the services is good, everybody will benefit from it. I don't think no one will be against having better healthcare.
Nobody
will be against.
No.
But not having the proper consultation is a point that seems to be worrying.
It's not what is done sometimes, it's how it's done. And stakeholders in the country must be respected. This is why as a citizen of this country, I always respected the social compact. I guess it came about as a result of there being no opposition. But I think it is a useful instrument that should continue, where you have civil society, the private sector, the trade unions, NGOs, government, opposition, everybody on a monthly basis, just meeting with their representatives, having representatives from each of these agencies and just meeting to discuss all these issues. And I think it is very important at this point in time, particularly where you have an administration that is aggressively pursuing purported, transformative agenda and legislation. Now, if you just rush it down the throats of the people who it's going to affect, what will be the feeling? What will be the feeling about that? You may get a lot of things wrong in terms of not consulting the people who it concerns, and you may create a lot of unnecessary friction. It's not that the union enjoys an adversarial relationship. You with government, you might see me out there speaking in the media saying certain things, but guess what? I'm the current president of the organization. If in one fell swoop of the pen you're trying to do pension reform, you're trying to do statutorization, everything in January, whenever it is, and all workers' interests have to be looked after, do you think we'll be quiet? No, we have to look after the interests. So therefore, if these things, they have the prerogative, the government has the prerogative, the constitution speaks to that, to make legislative changes, but if it's done in a respectful way and engagement takes place, not respect for Brian Grimes, respect for the Grenada Public Workers Union and the whole process, you would see quiet engagements behind closed doors, and then after all that is done, you can have a seamless implementation. But when you go over the heads of the stakeholders, the union, because I hear about things in town hall meetings, I hear about things on current affairs programs, where is the union? The workers are affected. So all these things have to be looked at, and I think if there is a redo or a rethink of the approach to these changes, these legislative agenda changes, I think things will go better.
I hear you speak of this morning, Mr. Grimes, and I hear the passion that you speak about this with. But why are we hearing, limited amount of voices, especially from civil society over there? There's still a lot who is not saying anything for some reason or the other. And even though they are all speaking like yourself and other individuals who are there, but there are a lot of course, organization out there in civil society that we're hearing a limited conversation for some reason or the other.
I can't answer that in a definitive way. I can. We here at the union could only be responsible really for our actions and how we go about doing business, but I don't know why there is a lessening of the voice. Again, it probably might go back to the fact that the Social Compact Committee has basically been dissolved or abolished. Maybe that platform will allow for more voices in the country, more democracy, more freedom of expression, and that will help our country develop and help the implementation of things. Because when you have that, you have many minds, many ideas. Yes, you might say, having ruling by decree might be better. Some like that. But when you rule by decree, you are guaranteed to be implemented your personal position from where you see things. And will it affect the greater good? Will it affect the masses in that positive way if their voices are not heard? So that should be considered. Hopefully going forward, more voices can be raised up, not necessarily in opposition. Because listen man, I was shocked to hear a trade unionist, well, somebody who I viewed as a trade unionist, speaking about, there are elements out there trying to collapse the government. And how could speaking on matters affecting workers, just speaking on it, trying to iron it out, trying to get the best, trying to get win-win, collapse our government? How is that possible? That means the government is flimsy, and I don't think this government is flimsy. This government was duly elected by the people of this country. But when you have an elected government, you don't shut down the voices of trade unions and NGOs and civil society. That's not how it works. The same Constitution of Grenada speaks to checks and balances in our country, right? Where a lot of things cannot even be done without a referendum, where there's a 2/3 majority. That is because checks and balances are needed, not just for this administration, but for past and future administrations. So I think engagement is very important. It's very underrated, and I think it can only help our democracy. We celebrate the 1979 to 1983 PRG government, based on the achievements they would have made probably through agro-processing and things of that nature. But they ran into a spot of trouble after a period in time, respectfully, based on the lack of freedoms of certain, actors in society. That can only down, and that is an extreme example.
Yes.
Right? But the greater point I'm trying to make is that it's always good in a democracy. We are not North Korea. We are not Russia. We, as a people, have been cultured in a democratic environment, and it's always good to have voices out there just being truthful and just being respectful in terms of what's happening in the country. That can only help the government of the day, in my humble view.
So you spoke a while ago in terms of the consultation lacking into the statutorization of the hospital and so forth. Now we have pension reform.
Yes,
coming through. This is another challenge that of course I hear a lot of conversation in terms of the lack of consultation that views are wrong and that surrounds it also. Your views on pension reform and where we at with it from a union perspective.
Yeah, pension reform. That one is a ticklish one.
Yeah.
We have not had serious consultation on this matter. We have had a few, what should I say, meetings interspersing over a period of a few months later for an hour or whatever it is. In fact, the most serious meeting that we had was recent at the end of October, either the 30th or the 31st of October. Our lawyers were present. We actually had, the permanent secretary in DPA, but even we were very happy to see the head of the Pension Reform Committee, Dr. Colin Gilchrist, and the actuary also. His name eludes me at this point in time, but he advised government on the whole matter. And that was the most fruitful engagement that we had. The others is like, okay, well, this is the case. We have to do this, otherwise the government go belly up. And if you don't agree, you're crazy. You don't know what you're saying. You're misadvising the workforce, and it was very disrespectful to us. But that last meeting, we saw they were listening ears. And the fundamental issues. There are two fundamental issues that the union has, right? And I want people to understand. Issue number one. 2022, we had a Glasgow judgment, Judge Ralston Glasgow, who fortunately, and for social and economic justice in our country, ruled that the Pension Disqualification Act was unconstitutional. In fact, that aspect of it influence elections in our country during that period in time. So now the judgment wasn't just for at that period in 2022, it's for future public officers, in our view, right? So people coming into PSC positions in the future, hopefully it will have PSC positions coming in, that constitutional pension will fall to them, right? 1958 pension. So now if you reform it, how does that coordinate with the Constitution of Grenada? So we're asking that question. Right? That's a question we're asking for that to be resolved. Number two, we have probably more than any other union, the Grenada Public Workers in this country have we have a diverse membership, number one, but we have a lot of lower paid workers. Okay. It's very diverse. We are from PSs down to cleaners, right? And there are a lot of people who making salaries like $1,500, $1,400, $1,300, and they just get the minimum wage, right? Unestablished. Now you want to tell them they have to pay 3% of their salaries towards the pension. So some might say, well, Grimes, what's your problem? That's for the future. I'll tell you what my problem is. My problem is cost of living is going up exponentially. Right? In this country, services are going up, fees are going up. I can't even tell you all, bank fees, every fee possible is going up in this country. And you think next year you won't have increase in fees? No, that 3% will affect their standard of living. So we're not saying no pension reform. We're saying do a pay and grade review.
Yes.
And this is consistent with what has happened in other places where there was pension reform. So, for example, in the government document, it spoke to the Turks and Caicos. I won't even tell you the salary increase the public service they got. Afraid to say, fussy high, right? But at least have some consideration. If you can't do a general pay and grade review for a category of workers that is lowly paid, my brother, look at that. And I want to make a further comparison here. So, you have pension for public officers, right? And you have pension for parliamentarians. Cap 232. Yeah? So recently, the parliamentarians, they increase their salaries really high because they say, that's a pay and grade review, eh? Not 5 and 10% or this kind of things, or 2 and 3%. We talking about 70, 80, who say 100%. It's a lot of percentage. And that will affect the gratuity they get, right? And that will affect the pension they get once they qualify for it. And they qualify in much less time. This is what they did for themselves. On top of that, there is no effort or there is no thought being brewed to have their pension be contributory. They're going to it's a non-contributory pension. The salaries are handsome. All is well. But us, I would say us, even though I fall under 1958 because I'm a PSC worker.
Yes.
But my brother, more and more, the vast majority of our workers are unestablished and contract workers. You want them to pay into that. Okay. But listen to our end. Do a pay and grade review. So we have to meet on the half. And this is where I go to consultation again. So I hear those that sit in the corridors of power say, look, these union leaders, they're out there. Well, they're speaking about Grimes, because I'm the one that's speaking. They're out there. They're not serving in the interests of the workers and things of that nature. So they're trying to jump over engaging with the union and speak to the workers and say they don't have your interests, we're looking out for you, which in my humble view, my brother, is a bit unethical. I really and sincerely believe that if we sit down at the table, look each other eye to eye, all the actors, all the players, including our lawyers, because I'm not going at it alone on behalf of the workers. We are not going at it alone. We have secured legal counsel in this matter, Henry and Bristol, and they are the ones that are doing the correspondence and things now, because in our view there seems to be a fundamental lack of desire to engage with the union. So we have gotten our lawyers, to do that. So I think if we sit down and sit eye to eye, I sincerely believe that we could come to some form of conclusion, a win-win. I really, really believe that. But if we take the current course, where union, all they get in trouble. You're not looking out for us, our interests, or they talking too much. We'll jump and tell the workers all they don't like them, and then they will believe us, and all will be well. And to some extent, I will say, GT, that some workers are falling for that, unfortunately. I mean, the truth is, in the public service, you have people empathetic to different parties. Some empathetic to the ruling government, the NDC, and some empathetic to the opposition, the NNP, who was in government for a lot of years. But we here at the executive, we don't operate like that. It's just business. Business. It's the bread and butter issue. But what you would see, there might be certain actors within the bargaining unit that are empathetic to the government of the day, and they would anything, whether it affects the general public service or their fraternity in a good or a bad way, they go with it because of that allegiance and that loyalty, right? To said party or government, and that's unfortunate. At the end of the day, my brother, when it's time to go in the voting booth, everybody have the choice. It's freedom of expression, freedom of choice. You can do whatever you want, but we have to be a little bit more unselfish. We have to be a little bit more objective in terms of how we view unions and how we view representation of general workers and the general good in this country.
So, we do for a break. Let's take it. We come back with much more. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch it out.
Hi, we're here at Answer Coating Grenada Limited, a proud sponsor of Christmas with GBN. And this year, we're giving up to 40% off various items.
And customers actually have the opportunity to win up to $1,000 cash. So we encourage you to stay tuned to Christmas with GBN and look out for all other in-store promotions and product information.
And don't forget, this December, a night of shopping with Answer Coatings.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbard's, Flow, Grenada Duty Free, and Answer Coatings.
Welcome back once again to our listeners and viewers. We're inside the final moments of today's program. If you do have a question or two, of course, that you'd like to ask Mr. Grimes, feel free to do so in this segment also. So, Grimes, welcome back.
Thanks.
A question I want to throw at you. Your leadership style of of Grenada Public Workers Union always seem to have brought about some conversation with folks, workers, people in society in general. There are folks who may think that Mr. Grimes not doing a good job. There are folks who think you are doing an awesome job. Mm-hmm. Your feel in terms of your leadership style and how you go about things. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's an interesting question. So you'll always have critics, and you'll always have people who support. Yeah. I think I have a lot of loud critics, mm-hmm. and I've discovered I have a lot of quiet support. So my support may not be as loud, but it's there. It exists. Hence the reason I'm the current president, because people have endorsed me. And I respect that, and that is why I give my best while I am the president of the Grenada Public Workers Union. So the thing I try to do when I approach my leadership, I try to think about who came before me.
Yeah.
So for example, my mentor, Sister Madonna Harford, what would she do in a situation like this? Sometimes when I want to react, I pull back a little bit, because you have to respect the organization. You have to respect the image of the public worker. You can't go and cuss people. You know what I mean? So it's something I feel humbled to be the current president, and while I'm here, I'll give it my best. If my best is not good enough, well, that's how the cookie crumbles. But I just want, while I'm the president, to go out there and make sure, as best as possible, I put 100% into it to ensure that when that day comes and I'm no longer president, I can say, you know what, Brian, you use that opportunity to give the best representation possible to the members in this great organization, Public Workers Union. So the critics will say what they have to say. Those who praise will say what they have to say, and I'm appreciative of the good energy, but that will not detract me. I operate on principles, and core principles is what guides me, not critics. My members on the executive will tell you, I listen to them a lot. So, for example, they will speak on a matter, and a matter of fact, last meeting we had, they were laughing about that, and I would say, no, I'm not going in that direction. And then logical arguments would come forward, and I would say, okay, I see what you're saying, let's move in that direction, or we meet on the half. So I'm very open to constructive criticism and to social dialogue. That's what I like to do.
Great. We do have a caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome and you're live.
Yes, good morning, GT, and good morning to your guests. I listened to the conversation from the beginning, and Mr. Grimes, as a retired senior of government, I am with you 110% in terms of what you said. And let me take you a little further. I'm sure you heard the program, the debate on the CLICO matter, which brings into question the CCG and the CSME, and even beyond that, CARICOM. Yeah? And that is what our leaders did to the citizens over the years. They take decision, make decision that affect us, and they cannot solve it. And I am saying here, all that you have said in terms of what the union is going through with, as it relates to the statutorization, trust me, I have not heard anything about the economy. Without the economy, right, servicing that, all those big ideas are going to fail. Be it the new system that you're trying to go with, which is the NHI, yeah, and the new pension proposed, that is going to fail. The new hospital, that is going to fail without a vibrant economy. This is where we need to go. Build and grow the economy to be able to attack these critical issues. It will not happen. It will bring us into a more dangerous aspect in the managerial system, as it relates to this country. And I'm asking you to press on. And don't give in, because if you give in and allow those things to take place, we as citizens are going to affect. This system will not work except you address seriously the growth and expansion, and we can produce wealth for the citizens. Other than that, it is going to fail, sir. Press on.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate your contribution this morning. Let's take another caller, and then we probably, if you want to refer anything about the caller, you'll probably do it in the next segment. Right. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're live.
Hey, good morning, GT. Good morning, Mr. Grimes.
Good morning.
Mr. Grimes, I'm here and I'm listening to you. And I think you're very hypocrite. Because you know something, I'm gonna talk while it was on, I went back and listened to a couple of clips from you. And then when you were praising the government, I remember during the negotiation and they talk about stuff that the government gives that you guys never get before. Let me ask you this. Do you think that this administration is more friendly to workers, especially the PWU, and they benefit more from this government? And also, I want to ask you to give us the statistics on the people that was regularized, especially the nurses and them. And then I wanted to give me also the statistics of the amount of contract that was there within the last government. And my last question, could you tell us what is the salary that you receive a month, and when last did you get that increase?
Thank you, caller. Appreciate your calls. Appreciate your contribution. Unless we do, right. I guess we now have two callers for you to respond to.
So, in terms of the first caller, I want to express gratitude for your contribution and your encouragement. But let's not get it twisted. This is not a Grimes thing. Now, when the union says something is going good, or when the union says, we don't like this particular direction, it's not Grimes unilaterally. I spoke earlier to the fact that my executive and also the membership, their positions are very important in terms of what we say and how we go about doing things, right? So, yes, I will continue to press on, but it is the union is a collective. It's not a one-man show. So, again, thanks for that. In regards to the second caller, speaking to my so-called or purported hypocrisy. It's so sad. I look at certain people saying certain things on platforms because I'm always on social media, just looking at the people's thoughts and so forth. So because the union says something good about the government, yeah, there is no space for there to be constructive criticism. This is what it is. This is why there are checks and balances in our society, and this is the role of the Grenada Public Workers Union as well as the other unions and other agencies in this country. This government is not all bad. They have done some good things. I can speak about the good things here now. The fact that, they have paid TAMCC, they're retroactive. And good things are happening for workers also. In the Grenada Postal Corporation, the workers, they have received their permanency, yeah, and have spoken about that publicly, right? I will use the opportunity now to speak about the community mental health nurses who were on protest since last year, and now on Honorable Delma Thomas, she has entered the fray and responded to the union quickly when we asked for a meeting, very, very quickly. And her permanent secretary, that's PS Kim Frederick. And a lot of the timelines in terms of getting the payments to the workers and things that they have to do, they have advanced that, right? And we have certain things to happen still. But what I'm saying is there is engagement and there are good things happening. But that does not negate me or any other spokesperson for our organization speaking on the negatives that exist within our society, within our community, within our country, and within the public service. So two things can be possible at the same time. You cannot call somebody hypocrite, a trade union leader, for speaking about the good and the bad when they truthfully exist. I am not here to always criticize the government. I am not here to always praise the government. I am here to speak truth to power. And this is what I'll continue to do as long as I'm the president of the Grenada Public Workers Union. Right? In terms of the numbers for the regularization, we wrote to the DPA asking for specifics, right? Who are the workers by name? Which ministry? We did not get that. I think it's when our lawyer wrote, they gave a generic something and said, okay, well, you have 400. That's not all our members, by the way. They're talking about police and all these other things. 7 community nurses were regularized. That's what they say. We cannot confirm because we haven't gotten the names and so forth. So the point is, the great question is, in terms of regularization, a sector that is in a most precarious position in our country, in our nation, and a sector that was promised regularization at the stroke of a pen, not just the public service, but the health sector. Why after 2.5 years, we have seen practically zero regularization in the health sector. So that's a question to be asked. And this is what the union will continue asking until we get answers.
All right. We do have another caller, which will maybe our final caller for the morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Hi, good morning to you, GT, and good morning to your guests. Mr. Grimes, I agree with you wholeheartedly about the role that the union has to play, and the need for more consultation with the unions. I mean, I believe in that 100%. And I think that the government has erred in many cases by not engaging the unions in the appropriate way and going through the different phases. But I listened to the question that was asked you about the pension reform. And it gives me exactly the reason why. In CARICOM, we spend a generation discussing an issue and don't solve it. And in the EU, they find a solution in 6 weeks. You've spoken a lot about the lack of communication, the lack of consultation, but you haven't answered the question about reform. Are you suggesting that the lower paid workers should have 2 non-contributory pensions? We understand the 1958 law, yes, but do we want to do away with the NIS? We cannot eat our cake and have it. So we can have the 1958, let it flow. But what are we going to do about the second one? Are we asking government to contribute to 2 pensions? And in some cases, as you said, in the lower workers, they can't pay the 3%, so they get 2 non-contributory pensions? We have to clarify those things, and we have to confront those issues. There must be compromise. We can't hold on to one. We can't eat our cake and have it. We can't have both. So I'd like you to say in the next few minutes, what do you mean, or what did you mean when you spoke about the lower paid workers can't pay 3%? Should they get NIS and also get the state pension, or should they get 2 non-contributory pensions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cole. I appreciate your contribution as well.
Right. So I spoke to the fact that, yes, the workers, they are really struggling, with inflation and these things, and that there should be a pay and grade review. A pay and grade review just speaks to an expert coming in, a HR expert, job evaluation expert coming in and looking at the salaries of these workers, doing an evaluation of that. More often than not, based on the general low salaries in our country, their salaries will be adjusted up. Yeah? Yes. Because we are known to have low salaries here in Grenada. And that will be able to buttress against the proposed 3%. And this is not something Brian Grimes is pulling out of the sky. This is something that exists in other territories. Turks and Caicos, I spoke to it earlier. So we are not here. The gentleman that called, he spoke to certain things, if I want this, if I want that. All I'm saying is, and it goes back to what he said fundamentally, let us sit eye to eye as union and those that are proposed, the policy makers, right? We'll come with our team, they'll come with our team. And I trust me, we will come to a resolution. The top-down approach is only going to create conflict in this country. This is what I know. But we here at the union, we are willing to, I don't want to use the word compromise, but it's what came to mind. We want win-win, but we will not accede to you just handing us something and say, take that and cool it. This is not the purpose of the union in our country. We are a creature of the Constitution of Grenada, and we are here for checks and balances, and we should be respected. Again, not Brian Grimes should be respected, even though I would like respect because I give respect. The idea and the concept and the ideal of the union should be respected in our democracy for things to go forward. Now, I listen just to go back again because we sort of dancing with issues. Statutarization, now I just flipped from pension reform to statutarization. In 1998, when Laurette Clarkson, I believe, was the president of the union, based on reports, there was a lot a lot of consultation and engagement with the union. In fact, the people sat, discussed these things, and there was a say. So the government of the day understood what it was like. But again, going back to what was stated earlier, there seems to be some subtle disdain with bureaucracy and engagement and dealing with stakeholders from this present administration based on what I perceive to be a more private sector approach to doing things. But the private sector and the public sector are two different entities. So once that is realized, I think we'll be going places. Right. That's my response.
Mr. Grimes, we've gotten to that point of the morning that we have to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank you a whole lot for popping in and, of course, sharing the necessary information you did this morning. Once again, I want to wish you all the best in terms of the week of activities.
Yeah.
And certainly hope all goes well. Thank you once again.
Yes, man. And I want everybody in Grenada to turn out to our Friday social, and if we come to the PW car park and have fun with the bingo and music and just, interact and thing. We really look forward to you coming out.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. Have yourself a good one, folks. That's where we say goodbye.